from a man caught drunk and slumped over his car wheel despite multiple DUI convictions.
The allegation is that the defendant was driving a vehicle in the village of White Pigeon at 2:25:25 while having two previous drinking driving convictions. Count one is operating while intoxicated. The third offense, count two, is operating with a suspended or revoked license.
To another, illegally firing a gun under the influence of drugs.
The allegation in this case, this is file number 25334FY, is that on February 24th of this year, Mr. Terry did possess firearms by a prohibited person. That's a felony punishable by up to 5 years imprisonment and a fine of up to $5,000.
These cases show how Judge Middleton holds reckless offenders accountable. Starting with James Craze, who is facing charges for driving under the influence despite multiple prior DUI convictions, from being found slumped over the wheel to refusing testing.
This is file number 25335FD. It's entitled People versus Daniel James Craze. Mr. Craze is charged with operating while intoxicated, third offense, which is a felony, entitled to a preliminary examination at a pre-exam conference. We're here today for the pre-exam conference. His attorney is Mr. Ross Truckee. Also present is Chief Assistant Prosecutor Joshua Robert. The allegation is that the defendant was driving a vehicle in the village of White Pigeon at 2:25:25 while having two previous drinking driving convictions. Count one is operating while intoxicated. The third offense, count two, is operating with a suspended or revoked license. Is there a plea offer here?
Offer is for him to plead to OWI second.
You confirm that, Mr. Truckee?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's pretty common for this type of thing. Let's talk about that. Drinking, driving, third offense is a felony. Second offense is a misdemeanor, punishable by up to a year in jail and a fine of up to $1,000. Carries 6 points on your license and requires that your license be suspended. The driving suspended charge will be dismissed, and the felony DWI or DUIL third will be dismissed. Do you understand that if you do plead to this charge, you'll be giving up your right to have a trial in front of a judge or jury? There won't be a trial. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
I think you were in here when I went through it earlier.
Got a written waiver.
All right, why don't you give me that? We've got a written waiver of his arraignment. Plus, he heard me. He was waiting patiently for his turn. All right, let's talk about this. There is an affidavit of probable cause in here, or a booking bond information form. On that day, you happened to be at the Amico station in White Pigeon, and you were slumped over the wheel. They had to take your blood apparently with a search warrant. Had you been, or were you there on February 26th in White Pigeon?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where did you come from?
I came from Menards and Elkhart.
What time of day was this?
It was sometime like 9 or 10 o'clock, to the best of my recollection.
At night?
Yes, sir.
And had you been drinking?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where were you going?
I was going back to Shipshawana, and I'm not exactly sure why I stopped there.
What were you drinking?
Rum and Coke.
They took your blood and it was a 0.107.
So they took his blood. We don't have the official MSP.
Oh, the PBT
lab
was
report at the
0.107.
jail. Yeah.
That would be a pretty fast turnaround from February 26th. Although we had one from February 11th that they had back already. All right, Mr. Cruz, you have a Michigan license where you lived in Bronson. I'm the sobriety court judge, and I'm always on the lookout for people that might fit in sobriety court. And there's all kinds of red flags here. 2 priors, suspended license, passed out in the car, refused the tests. Because you did refuse the test, I can't get you a restricted license with an interlock for quite some time. But the big problem is you live in Indiana, so you're probably not going to be eligible for sobriety court. I can finagle Michigan, even other counties. We've had a number of successful people in our program from Bronson. I can think of a lady over there that did a real nice job in the program. But I'll accept your plea. I'm going to set the matter for sentence and screening. What do you do in Shipshewana?
I just live there.
Do you work somewhere?
I work remotely, yes, I sell insurance.
I'm guessing you've probably tried treatment before and AA.
Yes.
Are you plugged back into AA?
I hadn't done AA like I should have when I came out of treatment, but since this last arrest, I've had SoberLink and I've been doing online AA meetings every day.
All right. Well, online's better than none. And what you just told me is very common. People get out of treatment, they fall out of support group, and then they relapse. And that's why I'd like to take a crack at you. But even though you can't do sobriety court, you are eligible for a probation. This charge does carry a mandatory minimum 5 days in jail. The judges around the state weren't doing it, and they sent us some money and said, we're going to pull your highway funding money unless you start to do the minimum sentence on a drinking driving second offense. At any rate, I'll set this for screen and sentence. Let's see. How did you get here today?
My mother drove me.
Did you ever have an Indiana license?
I did, but it's been like my early 20s. I graduated high school from Westview and Shipshewana.
Well, one of the things you're going to need to do is get some sort of a valid ID. You got an expired Michigan driver's license, but you live in Indiana. You can't get on an airplane, or there's lots of things you need some ID for. Ross, have I got you set for any Mondays?
Oh, I don't know. When are you looking at, Judge?
I'm a March 24th is kind of a short turnaround, but I've got that morning open.
I'm open that day.
All right, let's set this for Monday, March 24th. All right, I'd like you to take this form out to the counter. When I see you, I'm going to want to know about what you're doing for treatment and AA and other stuff. But I will address this at a sentence in the morning of March 24th. What they'll do probably is have you come in at 9 or 9:30 and meet with the probation department for the screening process. Then Mr. Truckee will meet us here before 11 o'clock and we'll do the sentence at that time. All right.
This time, we have Ms. Cupp back in court facing yet another DUI charge, except this time, she crashed a side-by-side vehicle and seriously injured her passenger. I mean, driving drunk is already reckless, but doing it after a prior conviction, that's just wild.
She's here with her lawyer, Mr. Ross Truckee. Also here is prosecuting attorney Deborah Davis. The complaint alleges that you were operating a motor vehicle with a high blood alcohol, causing a serious injury with a prior conviction. If you combine all of those things, it makes it a felony, punishable by up to 5 years imprisonment. A high BAC, serious injury, prior conviction, that is punishable by up to 10 years imprisonment. And a fine of up to $5,000 and not less than $10,000. It's alleged that you have a previous conviction in Kalamazoo County. Ms. Davis and Mr. Truckee have been discussing this case. It's my understanding they're going to reduce the charge to a misdemeanor charge of operating while intoxicated as a second offense. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, let me look at this complaint again. It's charged under 257-625, operating a vehicle on King Highway. The affidavit says that this is an off-road vehicle, like some sort of four-wheeler or side-by-side or something. There's a separate statute about operating an off-road vehicle, which is different numbers. In fact, I don't think it's even in the motor vehicle code. It's in some other section. It's MCL 324-811-3413. Anyway, so that may be more properly charged as driving an off-road vehicle. The punishment is the same. ORV second is also a 1-year misdemeanor. Maybe we'll discern what fits when we get more into the facts. Ms. Davis, is that your confirmation of the plea agreement?
That's correct, Your Honor. And the people would have no objection to sobriety court if she is screened and enters into that. And also there is an agreement that she will pay restitution. We're not certain on the amount of that. So we are willing to have a hearing if needed on that. And we've had contact with the victim, and she's aware that this has been offered. She is aware that she needs to get us her restitution information.
All right, and the complaining witness, her name is
Whitney.
Yoder. Ms. Kopp, are you going to enter a plea to operating while intoxicated, either an off-road vehicle or a vehicle, as a second offense?
Yes.
Other than this plea agreement, did anyone promise you anything to get you to plead to this?
No.
Or threaten you?
No.
And you've signed the advice of rights acknowledging that you're giving up the right to have a trial by entering this plea?
Yes.
All right, let me see all I have here is an affidavit of probable cause. And I read it last week and then again yesterday and trying to get clear. October 23rd, 2112 is about 9 o'clock at night. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
King Road and Krupp Road, that's officially kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Were you operating a off-road vehicle at that time and place?
Side by side.
All right, what brand?
Honda.
And do you own property out there?
No,
Where were you going?
I was headed home.
From where?
The Leonidas bar.
All right, so you were at the County Line Bar, or I'm not sure what it's called now.
Our, I think.
Our place, Ross Truckey's
Our
place,
bar.
something like that.
Not anymore, Joe.
All right, it's had several names. And so you took your ORV up to the bar rather than drive a car.
Yes.
But did you drive down the public roadways to get there?
Yes.
And you had someone in the vehicle with you?
Yes.
And that was Miss Yoder?
Mhm.
And who is she to you?
A friend.
And what happened?
Just lost control and hit a tree.
Oh my. And they took your blood and sent it to the crime laboratory and it came back as 0.242. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And were you injured?
Well, sore, but
I bet.
Yeah.
Was Miss Yoder injured?
Yes,
Did they take her by ambulance?
yes.
And we'll learn more about the extent of her injuries. You live at Pinhook. That's quite a long way from there to Pinhook, like maybe 8 or 9 miles. You were gonna drive all that way?
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a driver's license?
I did then, yeah.
All right, it now shows that it's canceled. I'm not sure what that's about. Did you get confirmation from the Secretary of State that your license is canceled?
No, I just have.
I
a
can't tell. In addition,
temporary.
the complaint doesn't allege what your prior offense was. It just says within 7 years of operating while intoxicated. It doesn't show where or when it was. So I looked at the warrant or the warrant. And it also doesn't show when and where it was. So I looked at your driving record. And your driving record doesn't show a prior drinking and driving offense. It shows that your license is canceled. I'm not sure what that means. Did you refuse the test? Did they have to get a search warrant to draw your blood?
No.
All right, I'm not sure what that means. It shows operator's license canceled. Anyway, the previous conviction doesn't show up on your driving record. I looked at your criminal record and it shows a conviction from Kalamazoo County. Ms. Davis says it says Vicksburg Police from 2019. So do you have a prior offense from Vicksburg in Kalamazoo County?
Yes.
Somebody dropped the ball and it didn't get abstracted to your driving record, but they can get a certified copy of the conviction. So you do have a previous conviction, which is enough for second offense. You've been driving ORV back in like 2010 or 11, just not having it registered or something.
Well, I didn't. I've only had that one for a year.
Well, it must have been a different one.
I didn't. I've never owned one.
Well, let's see here. Angela Jean Cup.
Oh, no,
Operate ORV on roadway or unregistered in
Oh,
May of
that was a
2011.
three-wheeler.
Oh, okay.
I know that Ms. Cup just had a birthday. I don't know if that's throwing off your license, what you're seeing. Her expiration date was just a week ago for her natural license expiration. It shouldn't show canceled, but just want to point that out. Could be
I don't know, but you should
I
find
got
out.
I got an ID.
You have
maybe,
you have a real ID,
Maybe that's what it was.
the
Yeah.
Michigan ID?
A Michigan ID.
So are you driving presently?
I have a temporary.
All right. This is real screwy. So you got the temporary paper
Yeah.
thing from the, all right, I'm not gonna dig any further. Anyway, Kalamazoo County should have abstracted that drinking driving to your driving record. They didn't. So when SOS looks at this, they won't see a previous conviction. When I first saw this, even though it was an off-road vehicle, I thought this would be appropriate for sobriety court. And I don't know how extensively the other person was injured. We had some of these before Ms. Davis got there, where there'd be these terrible injuries to a traffic victim and nobody even knew it. They charged somebody with like careless, I don't know, let's say leaving the scene of a property damage accident, and then you find somebody almost died. It happened more times than it should have, and I used to get my blood pressure up when it did, but I'm gonna learn the extent of her injuries. And what the restitution is. there are obvious red flags here. Point 242 at 9 o'clock on the night is a very high blood alcohol level. The fact that a previous offense is also a red flag. And so sobriety court, I think, could be a good fit for this. Ms. Cup, what do you do?
I work at a tractor dealership. I'm a service writer.
Which one?
New Holland, Burnup's equipment.
Okay. Mr. Truckee, are you retained in this case?
No,
All right, I thought you were the full-time Leonidas attorney, and would you give her that?
I've visited the scene many, many times here.
All right, well, let's see here. Let's find a date to put this. We're gonna need to put it out a little bit. I would tell you, you can watch our sobriety court on the YouTube channel, but we don't live stream those. They're between me and my defendants and the staff.
Ms. Cup's done more AA meetings than anybody I've ever met, and I think she's really gonna fit well with the sobriety court program. That's what
You need to meet more people. Eddie Mackay's been going to AA meetings for 50 years.
I should say per day, right?
Oh, per day, all right.
I've seen a 50-year chip, and it's pretty impressive.
Are you okay for Wednesday, April 10th at, excuse me, Wednesday, April 9th at 10:30?
That appears good. What was the time again?
10:30. All right, I want you to take these two things out to the counter. They may want you to go down and see the probation staff to get started on this. We have our staffing this afternoon. And Deborah, I guess before we do the sentence, we'll figure out whether we're gonna use the numbers for ORV. The law says you're supposed to charge the narrowest crime that fits the facts.
I looked at the statute. Well, this was charged, like reviewed and charged by our chief assistant. And because we have that ORV permit where you can drive them on the roadways, and this was on the roadway, I think it fits more as a motor vehicle. It was being used as a motor vehicle versus being.
Because an ORV violation doesn't have to be on the public roadway. It could be on the back 40 and you flip over and injure somebody. So this is on the public roadway, so they charge it as operating a vehicle.
Yeah, I have not specifically asked Chief Assistant Robert, but that was.
That was my view of it.
All right, yeah, this is on a public roadway rather than, the other statute does not require. I suppose it could have been charged as that, but this, I'm not sure what that is point wise, and so we'll just treat it as operating while intoxicated, second offense in a motor vehicle on a public roadway. Now, when this hits your driving record, it's going to be a little confusing because the Secretary of State doesn't know about your Vicksburg conviction. Theoretically, what would happen is your driving privileges would be revoked. And the only way you'd be able to get a driver's license is by being in sobriety court. After 45 days, you could be eligible for a restricted license to get back and forth to work and treatment and school, other limited purposes with an interlock. Most of the people in our program are in have an interlock. And there are a number of women in there that are doing quite well in the program right now. You seem like a good fit, but I'm not clear what the status of your driver's license is. It says canceled. So we'll have to sort some of that out as we go through to do the sentence. But the sentence is Wednesday, April 9th, 2025 at 10:30. Sobriety.
Finally, this last case centers on Mr. Terry, a repeat offender caught illegally firing a gun while under the influence of drugs.
All right, the allegation in this case, this is file number 25334 FY, is that on February 24th of this year, Mr. Terry did possess firearms by a prohibited person. That's a felony punishable by up to 5 years imprisonment, fine of up to $5,000. Did possess ammunition by a prohibited person. Did possess metallic knuckles and reckless use of a firearm as a habitual second offender. Making the maximum punishment here 7.5 years. The complaining witness was Gina Leister, who was, I think, Mr. Terry's probation officer. Mr. Terry, are you on probation to the circuit court?
No, sir.
All right. Is that revoked or you're off paper?
No, I'm in LaGrange County. I was on probation. It was Sally Niedermeyer is who my probation officer was.
Is
Gina
that
Leister
done?
is my-
I know Miss Leister, I believe, lives near Mr. Terry.
She was my
Oh,
neighbor.
so she is not a PV, but she's just a witness. All
Yes.
right, Mr. Josh Robert, Chief Assistant Prosecutor, is here. What is the plea offer in this case?
The offer is for the defendant to plead to count 4 firearm reckless use with an agreement that he be placed on probation. It seemed like this was mental health and maybe substance abuse related.
All right, well, let's talk about count 4. Reckless use of a firearm is a misdemeanor. As long as no one's injured, it is punishable by up to 90 days in jail and a fine of $500 to $500, and it could suspend your hunting privileges. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Terry, are you going to plead to that misdemeanor charge?
Yes, sir.
All right. Other than that, did anyone promise you anything to get you to plead to this?
No, sir.
Promise you anything?
No, sir.
Do you understand that if you plead to this charge, you'll be giving up your right to have a trial in front
Yes,
of a
sir.
judge or jury?
Yes, sir.
If you had a trial, you'd have the right to be represented by an attorney. If you could not afford an attorney, the county could appoint one for you at county expense, which we have done. If you had a trial, you'd have a right to have any of the witnesses for or against you subpoenaed to come to court so they could be questioned under oath. You would have the right to take the witness stand yourself and testify on your own behalf, but you don't have to because you have a right not to testify. And if you did not wish to testify, the judge or jury cannot hold your silence against you. So this is a pretty good plea offer. All the felonies are dismissed for a plea to this one misdemeanor. Other than that, did anyone promise you anything
No, sir.
or threaten you?
No, sir.
All right, what happened on February 24th?
I had found paperwork to prove a case that proved my innocence about going to Pivotal. It was just a receipt, and I found this in my house, and it wasn't there. And I was questioning my dad about it. He had came home from work and came inside for a while and sat down and talked. And then when I showed him the paperwork, he kind of like,
Mr. Terry, I think Judge is mostly asking about when you had the firearm and your use of the firearm. If you want to skip.
I had the gun outside in the yard, and I pointed it towards the field and knew that the field was an open field and shot it off in the air one time. And then my father left. And then I was sitting out in the driveway when the police came in.
Why did you do that? Because you were upset?
Yeah, because I figured, being a felon with a firearm, I knew that if I didn't hurt nobody or didn't actually, shoot anybody, that I thought that that was my way of trying to, without being a snitch or calling the cops, because I know my cousin has control over my phone and she gets all my calls and stuff. So if somebody called the cops on me and I wasn't hurting anybody, I knew that, I
All
could,
right. What time of day or night was this?
about 5, 6 o'clock.
Was it dark out?
No,
Had you been drinking?
no, sir.
Using any drugs?
Yes,
Which drug?
amphetamine.
So mostly you shot this because you were upset and you just wanted to kind of make a statement?
Yeah.
All right, what's up with the brass knuckles?
I have had somebody shoot a power box out next to the house, and people have been like hunting dogs all night long around there, like recklessly using firearms. So if I wasn't supposed to possess one and I didn't have one, I wanted to have some kind of form of protection. You usually don't
Well,
take a knife
brass
to a
knuckles would
gunfight,
not be a
but
very good protection from somebody with a gun.
you're right. But if I couldn't get a firearm,
Mr. Carey, I don't want you to admit to crimes that are not part of the plea agreement.
thank you.
All right. Well, I've got enough for careless, but I'm gonna sentence him. If I can't ask him that, I might as well just give him 90 days in jail. He has a previous gun charge from 2021. He also has a number of unpaid fines and costs, but he had a felony gun charge. It was reduced to attempted possession of a loaded firearm. And that didn't go all that well. Let me look when that was, 21. You mentioned pivotal. You also got extradited to LaGrange. Are you off probation in LaGrange? I think you told me you were done there. Are you still on probation in LaGrange?
No, sir.
All right. Yeah, that gun charge was in 21. You did eventually pay it all off.
Sir, I
Gun
PR'd
got
out because they
forfeited.
couldn't produce any evidence against me. They took my gun on the side of the road, but then they couldn't produce any evidence against me. So after 6 days of being in here, I PR'd out.
It was 4 days according to this, but all right, you mentioned pivotal. Are you on supervision of pivotal now?
No, I'm speaking with them while I'm in here. I just came from a meeting with them. I've been trying to do everything I can to get on the right path and, seeking help, no matter, counseling or whatever it may be.
Or if you got out of jail, where would you go?
Back to my father's house until I figure out a halfway house or, maybe mental health or anything. It really just to be on the positive path. I don't know how, the probation and stuff would work. So my father's house until I figured out.
All right, when's the last time you worked?
Last year at Coachman.
Which plant?
103.
Well, Mr. Aubert, what's your thought here?
I would like to see him placed on a probation. I think there's mental health issues. I think there's substance abuse issues. that a probation could help him deal with.
Mr. Truckee, what's your thought?
Mr. Terry's made it clear to me that this was some sort of a cry for help. Discharging this firearm, he knew it was sure to get the attention of the authorities. I suspect he in some way wanted to be arrested that day because of paranoia and some concerns he has that I think would respond well to treatment that could be monitored by a probation officer.
Whose gun was this?
It was a gun that came from the Cass County Shrine Club. It was one that was won at a turkey shoot a long time ago. It was my uncle's.
But it was just at your dad's house?
Yeah.
What other kind of work have you done other than trailer factory?
Well, for the past time being, since I lost my job at the trailer factory because they were getting slow, they had a layoff, and I was a new person. I've been mowing yards, building fences, setting up like subcontracting.
Well, both your lawyer and the prosecutor are asking for probation. I'm going to put you on a 12-month probation. I'm going to order 90 days in jail, credit 15, and I'm going to defer 75 days. I'm hanging some jail over your head. I want you to participate in this probation. You have a suspended driver's license, don't you?
I'm not sure. I haven't been driving just in case. I had
Yeah,
a new
there's no
license.
allegation of driving here, but you've got unpaid fines here from 2022.
Driving without insurance.
Yes,
I thought the 17 days that I did in jail was time served.
there's some you can't wipe out the $125 fees, so there's fees that are left over. Fine is $0. There's a $75 crime victims' rights fee, a $50 state minimum fee, $150 attorney fee, and $480 probation oversight fee. That's all due in 1 year. 125 plus 150 plus 480, 755. I want you to seek mental health treatment and sign a release from community mental health. No drugs and no alcohol, and test as directed. No firearms. Pay all unpaid fines and costs here at 3B District Court. When you get out of jail, I want you to come to the courthouse and check in with the probation department. We'll get you started on this probation. I got 75 days jail hung over your head. This makes me nervous. You had an earlier gun charge. You did complete it. It was reduced from a felony to a misdemeanor. Then you had a felony charge in LaGrange, and you're not allowed to have a gun or bullets. You can't have brass knuckles anyway. And that's a fool's errand to have brass knuckles for somebody that's out on your property with a gun. But that's been seized and that will be destroyed. This also results in the gun being destroyed.
Yes, sir. In that paperwork, it said that there's two different descriptions of a bullet. If it's the red, the pheasant shot, and not the Winchester steel shot, is there a possibility if that primer has been struck, if I could keep that as a memento?
Yeah, a spent bullet, I don't care. A memento of what? Getting arrested for reckless use of a firearm?
No, sir.
All right, well, I don't have an objection to you getting a spent shell casing, but it might be a logistically a little hard. Ask your probation officer about it. All right, let me repeat. I gave you 15 days in jail, but I gave 90, credit 15, and I'm hanging 75 days over your head. I want you to not use any drugs or alcohol, take a test as directed. I want you to get it plugged in with community mental health. No guns, no firearms, no assaultive behavior. And sign a release. All right, when you get out of jail, either later this morning or just after lunch, you come up to the probation department and check in, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, you're good to go. Will somebody pick you up?
If I have to wait till 4 o'clock, it'd be my fastest ride.
All right,
And
well,
if I
then
could-
when
if
you
I
get
walk
out of
up
jail,
there-
walk up here to the courthouse. If you need a bus
Yes, sir.
pass, I can give you one of those.